Good morning, Eric Boehlert.
Hey, good morning.
Well, I don't know if you've been listening to our conversation, but just false equivalency and this whole Al Franken being compared to Moore or Trump. As you tweeted, why are we comparing Franken to Moore? Dems already passed the test with how it handled the Franken revelation. I mean, things just could not be more stark, right? Right down to the president tweeting about Franken and saying not. How many times has he avoided the Roy Moore question, right?
Right, and now Kellyanne Conway was on TV this morning basically campaigning for Roy Moore.
Right.
Saying, or campaigning against Doug Jones, saying, he's not going to vote for taxes, he's not going to vote to repeal. She was on TV Thursday saying, no child should be unprotected, blah, 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 we stand with the children. And then I guess over the weekend they did the calculations. They're like, we need Roy Moore's vote to pass anything, which we can't do now. So now she's out, campaigning against Doug Jones. So I mean, it's gross, but it's completely expected. It's, Trump is trying to dance around this. He doesn't want. I mean, even he, I think, realizes there's been a cultural shift between November 2016 and November 2017, and the tidal wave of allegations against him did not have the same impact as they would have today, I think, after the Weinstein and after everything else. And so he doesn't want that focus back on, so he's just going to pretend Roy Moore doesn't exist at this point.
Well, you tweeted, I don't think we're going to know just how badly this insane pedophile storyline is damaging the GOP brand until November 2018. But, I mean, certainly from the polling we're seeing thus far, I don't know, what's the latest one you've seen that Moore is up? Or not Moore, excuse me, Ralph Jones is up.
Yeah, I saw a Fox poll that had him up 8 points. That was in the immediate aftermath. I don't think there's two Democrats in America that think, we have the Alabama race wrapped up.
Right.
I mean, there's 3 weeks left. Who knows what's going to happen down there? I mean, Democrats are an endangered species, basically. But look, people, it's helpful to remember this blockbuster story broke 2 days after the Republican Party got shellacked on Election Day.
Yeah.
This is a party that is already completely reeling. And so now we've, instead of doing the right thing, instead of him getting out of the race, instead of the Republican Party handling this, it's going to go on for at least 3 more weeks. Then there's the possibility, that he wins. And then Republicans supposedly try to expel him,
right?
And then he'll go to court, and this thing's going to go on for months and months. So we could have spring of 2018 as the midterm election season starts. We'll have Roy Moore still in the headlines for child molesting, and Robert Mueller, revealing more guilty pleas and things like that in terms of the Russia investigation.
And you wrote a piece, Eric, on Share Blue. Roy Moore's wife obscenely boasts that his molestation scandals are good news for Trump. Talk about everything is politics. She said all of the very same people who were attacking President Trump are also attacking us. I personally think he owes us a thank you. Have you noticed how we're not hearing too much about Russia? I mean, these people are just shameless, Eric.
They are, and she was like, I mean, these were prepared statements she had. She was kind of like laughing about how the White House must be happy about this story because people aren't talking about Russia. I mean, that was the same day, I think, that we had the female governor of Alabama. She was talking to reporters.
Yeah. And
literally within the same sentence, she says, yes, I believe the accusers, and yes, I'm voting for Roy Moore.
Yeah, because we got to have a Republican in the Senate. I'm just
Absolutely.
I guess the answer is there is no line they won't cross.
Right. So, I mean, again, when the story first broke, we kind of talked about, like, this is kind of like a test case. Like, someone came up, someone in lab coats came up with this scenario. Okay, what could we propose? What story could we have unfold that will test their... And I don't know. I mean, if these were teenage boys, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what extreme.
Yeah.
The Alabama Republicans would say, yeah, let's go. We need that tax vote. We need that Supreme Court vote. I don't know if it exists.
And from Mick Mulvaney to whoever that creepy albino guy is, but I mean, just deflecting, and they won't answer the Roy Moore question. This is Mick Mulvaney yesterday.
Do you believe that the women who've come out against Roy Moore are credible? I believe they're credible. I don't know who to believe. Again, I'm at the Office of Management
You don't
Budget.
believe them?
No, I said they're credible. I don't know who to believe, and I do think, as the president said,
well, if
the
they're
voters
credible, why
should
wouldn't
decide.
you believe them?
Andrea, I run the Office of Management Budget in Washington, D.C. You work for NBC News in Washington, D.C. My guess is we've not spent that much time looking at the specifics of these allegations. You've arrived at a certain conclusion because of a certain political persuasion.
Not because of a political persuasion at all. I am simply asking whether you believe that they are credible.
Oh, my God. What does that even mean? I believe they're credible, but I don't know who to believe.
Well, again, and that's what made the Alabama governor comment so amazing. Is she was one of the first that came. Everyone else is playing this dance. Well, it's up to the people of Alabama. Yes, they're credible. I don't know who to believe. And she was the first. I don't know if she's just not as polished or whatever, but she said, yeah, I believe them, and I believe he did these things, and I'm going to vote for him anyway. But yeah, I mean, the Mulvaney and all these other people, trying to pretend. That's what Trump did when he was in Asia for 8 days. Well, I got to get back to America before I can kind of really focus on this. I can't really read the news when I'm in Asia. I mean, that was the ridiculous cover story they went with for a week.
Yeah, I was talking to, I obviously did not procreate, but the people with kids, like, I just can't imagine how you try to undo what we're teaching them. That it's, if you lie about it, you'll be able to get away with it. Just don't ever admit to wrong. I mean, it's as if the rule of law doesn't
Winning is
exist
everything.
anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, and these are the people that had to impeach Bill Clinton because he lied under oath about his sex life. So yeah, the rule of law is just kind of completely thrown out the window. And it's funny you mentioned as long as you don't admit it. I mean, Sarah Sanders on Friday.
Well, I was gonna play this for you because we gotta hear this, and then I gotta get your take. Go ahead.
Is it also fair to investigate this president and the allegations of sexual misconduct made against him by more than a dozen women?
Look, I think that this was covered pretty extensively during the campaign. We addressed that then. The American people, I think, spoke very loud and clear when they elected this president.
But how is this different?
I think in one case specifically, Senator Franken has admitted wrongdoing and the president hasn't. I think that's a very clear distinction, Major.
That is really a stunning moment, isn't it? I mean, the only thing you can say is, well, you know what? That's not going to work with Bob Mueller. It's just, you didn't do it?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
I know. I mean, that is the only saving grace to all this, that in the background, this Mueller thing just churns on. But yeah, I mean, again, there's going to be an ethics investigation into Franken, which he welcomes. And basically, the idea is, well, and other Republicans were pushing this too. Basically, well, we should only investigate people who admit that they did something wrong. And as I tweeted, that kind of takes all the suspense out of it. But right. I think Mitch McConnell is being, kind of savvy and smart here. He hates Bannon, he hates Roy Moore. If Roy Moore wins, there's an ethics investigation into Al Franken before he became a senator. So if he wants to and Roy Moore wins, Mitch McConnell will say, well, okay, we're going to have an ethics investigation into Roy Moore before he became a senator, because that's how we do it now.
Yeah. I mean, but this brings us, Eric, to with the stuff you and I always talk about, that there clearly are two different sets of rules, right? For Democrats and Republicans. Why do people like Kirsten Gillibrand help them with that by bringing up Bill Clinton? And he and then she tried to sort of walk it back, like, I was just saying in this environment he might have been forced to resign. But I mean, I could not more strongly disagree that Bill Clinton should have resigned.
Yeah, I mean, there's people. It's weird because Gillibrand. I mean, she was around during the '90s. There seems to be a generational thing going on that I've noticed on Twitter. People who weren't politically active in the '90s now are under the impression, and a lot of it from the D.C. press, who hates the Clintons, that he was just skipping through daisies during the '90s and having the time of his life, and he got away with everything, and wasn't life wonderful for him. Anyone who thinks that should be reading Joe Conason, who detailed all this at the time.
The Hunting of the Clintons. I loved that book because it just people don't realize, Eric, that are of a certain age that this was about a failed land deal that expanded and expanded and expanded at taxpayer expense into his personal life. And I don't know
Yeah.
any of us that would want our personal life investigated to that degree, you know?
It was a $70 million grinding, relentless, nonstop microscope. Clinton was impeached. He lost his law license. He paid an $800,000 fine. And the American people loved him in the end. I mean, he left with a 67% approval rating. So there's clearly, look, if people want to debate, have a debate about what he did was right or wrong, that's fine. My pushback has been this idea that there wasn't a reckoning. I mean, as I tweeted, he was impeached. If we want to reschedule another reckoning for everyone who missed the first one, that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
let's not pretend that this wasn't an completely unprecedented grinding political machine.
And that they skip
existed
right
to
over
drive him from office.
Right, that Monica Lewinsky has described it as a consensual relationship among two adults. I understand the power imbalance, but you know what I'm saying? Once again, different than sexually assaulting a 14-year-old, right?
Yeah, and again, and as I tweeted over the weekend, I mean, if you hear news that a Republican was accused of molesting teen girls, and your first impulse is to write a Bill Clinton column, you might want to check your context. You might want to see
Update
if
your
you're suffering from Clinton derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
And it, look, they have been punching bags forever. And of course, it took 3 days for the Roy Moore story to become really about Bill Clinton, because that's what the Beltway pundits. That's what they do. I mean, there's this almost insatiable appetite to erase both of them from American political history.
Yeah. I mean, it really is stunning, and it's just that's the thing is like, just don't help them. I mean,
We're on a good roll here.
That's what I mean. Sometimes you have to go, is this going to work? Is this working? When they go high, low, we go high. Right? I mean, the fact that anybody is saying Franken should resign, I'm like, what? Over an inappropriate picture and a, misunderstanding over a kiss and a skit 10 years ago? Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, and it doesn't seem that's going to happen. And it doesn't seem there seems to be a push, most importantly, from Minnesota voters. There doesn't seem to be any kind of grassroots revolt that he's got to get out of the way. But again, look at the way Democrats within 8 hours. I mean, this allegation was aired.
Yeah.
Within 8 hours, he admitted it. He apologized. He was condemned. The woman said, "I accept the apology. Let's move on." All within 8 hours, and we're still dealing with Roy Moore 14 days later, and we're going to deal with it for weeks and possibly months, because the Republican Party just cannot deal with these kinds of things. So, yeah, to me, the story is, look at how differently these two parties dealt with allegations which really aren't even similar, but fall under the same umbrella. And to me, one of the storylines is how virtually, no one was attacking Al Franken's accuser, and yet everyone immediately lined up.
Right.
Hannity talks about how these women lie all the time and things like that. To me, that is the story, and the D.C. press is just doing this both sides Olympics. Oh, Al Franken and Roy Moore. Boy, there's a problem here.
Right. I mean, even, it's interesting. First of all, Anthony Weiner, who is in prison where he belongs,
right.
who was roundly, kicked, repudiated by the Democratic Party immediately. I mean, even he didn't actually touch anybody, right? I mean, it was hugely inappropriate, which, like I say, for which he belongs to be in prison. But you go, these are allegations of actual sexual assault or rape on underage people, right, with Trump and Moore.
Yeah, I mean, and the Moore stuff is just incredibly, explicit in terms of what's going on. And you just, look, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, we talk about tribalism, we talk about a cult. I don't know how, we're running out of adjectives to describe what's going on here.
Let's look back at, they defended Denny Hastert for the longest time, right? Who was, had a lifetime of assaulting little boys, right?
Yeah, and they had the Mark Foley problem. And I mean, this is, just over the weekend, this, Oklahoma Republican was, I mean, he's, oh God, the allegations about him and underage boys and things like that. Right. I mean, there's a Republican problem. It's not exclusive, but certainly, I mean, if you just take a step back, I mean, there's clearly a Republican problem. But again, my gosh, the press just wants to create this. They have to go back 20 years to Bill Clinton to find a Democrat who was even in the ballpark in terms of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really infuriating. Democrats deal with this in an honorable and forthright way most times. And the Republican Party is on the verge of electing someone accused of child molesting.
Yep, exactly. Eric, thankful for you. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week.
Okay, have a great week.
All
Happy
right.
holiday.
You too. There you go.